Hello, I'm Dr. Franklin Sollars. I'd like to welcome you to Transformation and Transcendence Roundtable podcast. We're going to discuss things spiritual, psychological, mystical. We're going to combine psychotherapy and psychological concepts since have all been trained as therapists, but all walk a spiritual path. We're going to combine all these elements and help with inspiration and guidance and coaching and support for each of you's spiritual growth. That's the intention. So we'll rely on case material. We'll rely on ancient wisdom as well as psychological awareness, depth psychology, Jungian psychology, Bionian psychology, different kinds of depth psychology that can be of help to you. So thanks for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the journey, and we hope to be of service to you and help you in your growth. That's our mission. So thank you, and here we go. Wow. We are on Sollars video, right?
I think so.
Yeah, there we are. Page is unresponsive. Try again.
You've frozen as well.
Yeah.
There you go. You're back.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay. I'm going to try to get us on YouTube again. Here it comes. Things are really going slow.
It's one of those days.
I guess so. It'll be a shorty anyway because we started a little late. So I don't know what to do. But wait a minute, I guess. Yeah, it just doesn't want to work. All right, here we go. I think it's going to happen now. Huh. Oh, boy. Coming, it's coming. So, hello and welcome into Transformation and Transcendence Roundtable podcast. Today, Joshua Morrill, psychotherapist and life coach, will be.
Hold up. Sorry, interrupt. It said the stream stopped.
Oh, okay. Wonder if that's on the end or it's on my computer end. I don't know. I don't seem to be having trouble with other platforms, So another thing like just Google it, got it, but it doesn't want to work for YouTube. Huh?
Yeah. Maybe it's an internet guy today.
Yeah.
There we go.
Hello and welcome into Transformation and Transcendence Roundtable Podcast. Today it'll be Joshua Morrow, psychotherapist and life coach. Oh boy. Well, what do you think? I'll give it one more try. I don't think it's going to work today, do you?
Sorry, it was on mic. Yeah, I don't know, but it's still recording, so you can always edit out this stuff and then just manually upload it.
Well, it's record. Yeah. Oh, I guess so. You mean like later on, manually upload it?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you do
Just
that?
cut out all this beginning stuff and
Okay. You can manually upload it later on YouTube, eh? Okay. So we'll go with that, eh? Even if it drops off, we'll just still keep talking.
okay.
Hello and welcome into Transformation and Transcendence Roundtable Podcast. Today I'm joined by Joshua Morrow, psychotherapist and life coach. And he's available for life coaching. You can contact me at fsollars at sollars1.com. Also, we usually have more, but today we'll be talking about the, can you see it all? Food for thought, psyche, spirit, and soul. Stories, poems, and sayings to spark emotional and spiritual growth. So we're going to talk about the positive effects of discussing, communicating, and acknowledging even negative, painful feelings in our lives and in ourselves, and how that can be helpful to our transformation. So I'm just going to take a little story from the book. And let's start off with a quote from the Buddha. Our sorrows and wounds are healed only when we touch them with compassion. Buddha. So that's kind of the theme of this particular story. And you can find Transformation and Transcendence online. And you can find Food for Thought, the book, Food for Thought, Psyche, Spirit, and Soul on Amazon.com. Hardcover, soft cover, and ebook. Yeah. Okay, so this story is called David Punches Dee Dee. It's short. I'll read it out of the book, word for word. I have a very sweet 3-year-old grandson named David. He is about as easygoing a child as you could be and very sensitive to the feelings of others. There are very few problems with David or his behavior. He lights up people around him with his laughter, playfulness, and easygoing nature. David and my daughter, his Aunt Dee Dee, have been very close for a long time in his life. They like to spend a lot of time together playing, talking, and chasing each other around. Although Dee Dee is a very devoted aunt to David, she decided to go away for a few weeks to help at an orphanage in Brazil. She talked to David before she left. She reassured him she'd be thinking about him and would be back soon. This seemed to reassure David. Well, a few days after Dee Dee came back from Brazil, David and his aunt Dee Dee were sitting at the computer interacting very nicely. David was on her lap, and all of a sudden he hauled off and punched Dee Dee right in the jaw. This crushed Dee Dee, who adored David. She became mad at her dear nephew and stood up and said, "Why would you do that to me? You're bad." Her voice was full of anger. I sat in a chair a few feet away and saw the whole interaction. Knowing Dee Dee was very hurt and David was now guilty and ashamed and about to cry, I thought I should intervene. Feeling the distress in the room, I asked them if I could help. Not getting a clear answer, I took their pain as a yes. I said to David, you know, your Dee Dee has been gone quite a while. Did you miss her? Yes, David said, yes. Were you mad that she was gone so long? He said in a moment that was brimming with hurt, yes, she was gone too long. I am mad at her for being gone. Said that hurt you? Yes, he said, it hurt me and made me sad. I followed. Is that why you hit her? Because you were hurt and mad and that you missed her? Dee Dee had softened at this point. David nodded his head to my question, and Dee Dee picked up David. I am sure it was very hard for me to be away, she said. I missed you so much, too, and I'm sorry I hurt you by being gone. They hugged and kissed as tears filled each other's eyes, and the mood in the room changed from being like hurt and anger to love that you could feel in the room. Love and caring for one another and feeling, how dear each of them were to each other. So the pain was gone. And after this, act that was very unusual for David, and the punch and the hurt, Dee was felt really wounded by this. But after talking about it and talking about, what Rumi would say, the letting the guest in your house, the pain, the negativity, whatever it might be, into the house, which is your mind, right? Letting them come and being able to talk and communicate, you learn something and you grow. And so this is really, I think, a little example in the book, Food for Thought, Psyche, Spirit, and Soul, about a transformative moment in time through communication and acknowledging our feelings. So I thought that would be a good point to talk about for a few minutes, a little while for a podcast. You got any thoughts there, Joshua? Or should I go on?
Yeah, I can chime in.
Yeah.
I feel like I spend a lot of time with clients helping them to understand why other people do what they do. And so I think that story was a beautiful illustration of walking through someone hurting another person and coming at it from trying to understand. That I think that's a component of this compassion and self-compassion, because we always have to be compassionate with ourselves if we're going to help ourselves heal from these spaces. That we have to understand, okay, this person acted out in this way, or we acted in this way that hurt another person. Sometimes we don't even know why we're acting the way we do to hurt other people. And that walking through, okay, well, this boy was hurt that D was gone. It wasn't that he was initially mad at her, he was initially hurt. He was sad, he felt alone, he felt abandoned. And then instead of this shaming response, this punishing response, don't do that ever again, finger wagging, it was no. I understand why you were hurt and why you were angry, why you did this thing, right? I'll ask questions to find out if this is true or if it's not. And I think that was a very nice, simple way of laying that process out.
Yeah, thanks. And what I remember about the event was that even before, the words came out, the feeling started to change and everything started to seem different. The tone, the kind of the softness of their communications, the sense of caring for each other started to come out even before much of the words came out. When it was identified that he was hurt and mad because she was gone, she understood, he understood, started to feel different automatically before there was sort of apologies. And I think just to know that that's what was happening, because otherwise he was feeling like he's a bad boy, he's a bad kid. Why would he do that? She's feeling like he's a bad kid. Why would he do that? And why would he do that to me? I love him so much. Why would he hurt me? I can't believe it. She was, but as she realized it was because she was gone, that he loved her and was missing her and got mad about it, this took it all away. I mean, but again, even before it was all kind of completely discussed, the feelings had changed. It was interesting, very interesting, how the feelings preceded a lot of the conversation. And this is kind of what we can do at times with injuries and trauma and childhood hurts and things, even relational difficulties that people are having in the here and now with other people, which that was. We didn't have to go into childhood hurts to understand that this is a hurt in the moment that can be soothed, kind of healed, you might say, by talking and understanding. And it does remind me of last week's podcast. We talked about Pema Children and her idea of trying to stay in touch with the humanity of the other person, even when they're, persecuting you or negative towards you or mean to you or whatever, and you don't agree with them. I mean, maybe you feel that some of their way of life is, hurtful to people, but to still say, that they're trying to find their way. They feel that this is important to them for some reason. They feel in some sense their life depends on the position they're taking, even if it feels hostile to you or negativistic. And, say, just like me, these are elements just like me. I feel sometimes desperate. I feel sometimes I have to be defensive. I feel sometimes I'm missing something and I have to protect, some vague sense of, being okay by battling the other person, just like me. And so it's really trying to feel into the other person's point of view, their sort of worldview a little bit, so you can begin to understand them and feel the common humanity, the unity between the two, even when you have superficially battling positions, to find the unitive element underneath it all, which I think her article was really good about that, that's the path of bodhicitta, right? Which is the trying to understand and open up your compassion so you can give it out and help other people. It's a path of enlightenment, to find your way, right, to the oneness we have with one another and the caring and kindness we can feel. So this happened a little bit here, much more psychological kind of thing, you might say. Not ultimately, but approach from a psychology point of view rather than a particular Buddhist point of view, although you could look at it from a very Buddhist angle, but you could also look at it from a Kabbalistic angle and a Sufi angle and a Christ consciousness angle and all that.
Yeah. The thing that's coming to my mind is that one of the things I've been thinking about as of late, kind of stemming from last week, or in sort of in line with that, is this common humanity. I have this like thought stream about like how everyone has value in every situation, all of the time. Every person has some sort of value that they're bringing to the table. And I'm playing with this idea because I just think it's important in terms of when you're interacting with people to not devalue them. Um, but I've been trying to think about that in terms of, well, what if someone's doing something wrong, and maybe even really seriously wrong? Then what is the value in that? It seems like like it's not right and it shouldn't be that way. But in this case, with this kid, it's clearly wrong that he hit someone because he feels hurt, to like outlet your hurt onto another person. Common for kids, but as an adult, we tend to look down upon that kind of thing. And but without that act, there is also not the opportunity to have compassion. Like if everything was hunky-dory all of the time, there would be no need for that compassion.
Yeah, I mean, if everybody is joyful, then it's not compassion. You might feel the common joy, which is nothing to sneeze at. That's great. But yes, you might not feel the compassion. Perhaps there's other ways to feel compassion just for someone else's struggle, you might say, because we're all in this human condition where we live in this dualistic perspective where conflict does come our way because we're not really as realized, you might say, self-realized as we would like to be, as compassionate, as loving as we'd like to be, as embedded in our higher self or coming from our higher self as we'd like to be, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but maybe that's still a part of it because that gives the opportunity for others to show their higher self for you.
Yes. Yeah. And like I think Payment Children would be saying, like from last week, it's a bodhicitta path. I think I'm saying it correctly. It's the injury was used by her at times and her teachers to help move someone towards a more compassionate state, to feel the common humanity despite the disparateness, to reduce what she called polarization, which I think is movement into conflict and being at war with others, to reduce that so that you find the caring quality of towards the other person and towards humanity and ecology and all that, which is also the path of bodhicitta, which is the path of self-realization as well in other language, right? Among other things. So yeah, injuries become painful situations become part of that, and even if you can't communicate like this with someone who's involved, we have to say we're injured by somebody. We have to take that to our own meditation, you might say, our own self-analysis even. What's happened? How did I find myself in that situation? What was I doing? Sometimes we don't look and see that there are really hidden elements. I was a little too pushy. I was a little too had to be my way. I remember I was a little forcing and maybe a little denigrating, critical of the other person. So he got his back up too. That kind of thing. Ways that you help create a warring attitude, not in the ultimate sense what came back to you, but in measures that would lead up to that, and didn't realize it. And perhaps you don't have to do that. Perhaps you weren't compassionate in a way, and you were, maybe say semi-consciously, pre-consciously negativistic, judgmental. You were polarizing, and not compassionate, right? Not looking for the oneness with the other person. See, in this case with David, my grandson, and Dee Dee, my daughter, a lot of times that just ends in punishment. You're bad. You go to your room. You're bad, and he walks away with just a shame, and feeling bad. And that's it, And sometimes maybe that's what we're left with, And make it short, and then you can solve them. That's not who you really are. I know you didn't. That kind of thing, right? There's other ways, but in this case, it didn't have to get to that because once he had said why he was hurt and why he was mad, it was a redemption. It was because he felt different and he felt loving and she felt it and she felt forgiving. And even though she didn't say, I forgive you, but she forgave him, right? And he felt bad and that was redemptive. And so the wound was healed and he realized it. So he learned a lesson, right? I mean, even though I didn't preach it to him, you have to talk instead of hit. Maybe sometime I'll say that, right? I would have said that. But it didn't have to do it at that moment. it was emotional learning, you might say, that happened there.
For sure. For sure. And so there's a tricky thing with that I'm seeing, in that as you grow up, you have these ways of like preventing those emotional learnings from happening, because you got to feel those feelings. And so where like, and the complication is, this is a beautiful story between a child and a mother, but you move that up into adults, like the complications are just exponentially rise, I feel, just because like the number of experiences, the amount of knowledge, the different perspectives, the different personality styles, the different viewpoints.
Yeah, when you don't look at the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror, if you don't look at your contribution to a negative situation, and you just externalize and blame. I was just talking to another case conference yesterday about how sometimes people like the drama of commotion and trouble, and and kind of negative interactions, and they're being kind of an edge, and they feel if they don't have that, sometimes life is too boring. And if you have something like that, for example, when many of us do to degrees, right? There's excitement in the trouble, but
Yeah,
you don't realize that you get off on it a little bit, and you don't try to find enjoyment, and you might say a little bit of zest in more peaceful kinds of experiences, and witness that you get off on the trouble, and so the witnessing even begins to detoxify it and change it. If you don't do that, then you can stay into it, and that could be your contribution right there. Just that, maybe you do very little, but you certainly enjoy it, so you don't do anything to really undo it, you might say, except you pile on, or you get judgmental or stern, and people can feel negative feelings too. And we know that as therapists and coaches. You don't have to say things sometimes; they feel it in our mood or our countenance. How we're appearing, how we look, like poker faced or whatever it might be, right? The skin.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga.
Yeah, you can do that, and without saying words sometimes, right? Of course, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess this is reminding me of, because I'm doing the neurofeedback as well, and I was watching a video by Seaburn Fisher, and she was talking about how in the brains of certain people with trauma, I think she was talking about developmental trauma, but she showed like these brain scans next to each other. And one was a person without traumatic history, and one was with, I think it was developmental trauma. And it was so interesting because it was a grid, and there was not PTSD, and then the columns were threat and no threat. And so for the person who doesn't have PTSD, when they are in a state of no threat, they have their default mode network on. And that default mode network has the connections with their thinking brain, their conscious mind, and their parietal lobes, and this sort of like sense of self in the body and the senses, and then our narrative understanding of ourselves. And those are connected with each other. But when the threat system turns online, that stuff shuts off and a whole different system turns on. But in a person with developmental trauma or some sort of traumatic history, it's actually the opposite. People can only feel their sense of self in threat and danger. And without that threat and danger, they don't feel themselves. They don't feel like they have a sense of self. And so I thought that was just so fascinating, because I've had multiple clients come in to tell me, like, I'm addicted to chaos, And when I hear that, I'm like, okay, let's figure this out. Like, it's complicated. It's I like people intentionally creating chaos.
Yeah, and sometimes unconsciously, intentionally doing it. Some people don't know. Some people, like some of your clients, are further ahead because they know they're addicted to it. They like it on one level, even though they wish perhaps they didn't have to be there. But some people don't
Yes.
even know they're doing it. They just find themselves attracted to danger, trouble, drama, dynamics, chaos, fighting, etc. Right? Stress. If you don't have it, you're not living. Right? That kind of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody might be living, but it ain't me because that's not who I am. Right? So which is what you're saying. There's a sense of identification with, being immersed in the chaos. This is part of who you are, not just your physical self, but your experience that includes chaos is part of who you are. And without it, you don't know who you are, which is a very scary thing because, again, you feel like, well, that might be fine for somebody, but I don't know who it is. It ain't me. So I lose myself in this deal, and you lose yourself. It's kind of a death experience, right? So,
Yeah.
which is scary.
And
Yeah.
you can't get and that's where it's like, well, when I feel calm, I don't feel good. I don't feel normal. I don't feel right. I have to get myself out of being calm. But like being calm is like step number one to feeling safe, to starting this mindfulness, to starting these inward journeys towards this emotional growth and this spiritual growth. Like I feel like you've got to be in a calm space to be able to do that.
Well, and if you're not, recognize it, yeah, and try to move back that way and see if you can, for a moment, identify. Say you're in a chaos person. For a moment, identify with a sense of being okay with things not being stressful, just being kind of calm. See if you can do it for 10 seconds or 2 minutes. That's a start, right? That's a start. See if you can be there and not panic for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it might be, maybe 10 seconds. I don't know, right? Maybe an hour. You start to grow, right? That's it. But you start to feel like you can do it, right? You can do it. And then it comes back, the chaos and the drama. And you go, but then okay, here I go again. Maybe I can let it go. I can let it go. I can be in the moment, in the calmness of the moment. Find some enjoyment in the moment without stress and trouble. Peace and love. And yeah, peace, love, and understanding. Can I do that? Do I have to go to the chaos and the negativity and the spite and the bitterness? Maybe I can get used to this other state. How would that be? Be less trouble in your life. Oh, but I like trouble. Well, you do and you don't, right? That's why you came in here. You get in a lot of trouble, and you don't know what to do with it. It's a mess. Your life's a mess, and so you like it and you don't. That's what we call a conflict, right? Be better if you don't have that conflict. If you got off on things that were better for you, wouldn't that be something? I guess so. Can you really do that? Yeah, you can. Actually, you can do that. It takes time, but you can do that. And each day you work towards that, right?
Yeah, and that's where like things like this book I think are really important. And like I found a lot of like in my YouTube algorithm, I've curated my algorithm to feed me positive stuff that's helping me with my life. And I think that the importance of ideas and the right ideas and having those is so crucial to this process. Because if you don't have the idea of what to do, how to do it, where to go, like what is a good replacement thought for this thought that seems to be bringing me down, and like if you don't have these things to work with, it's like you don't have. It's like you're playing chess with half of your pieces missing.
Yeah, right. You're kind of flying by the seat of your pants, and I mean, sometimes you're successful, but when you get help, when you read a good book, like we're talking, hopefully my book is helpful. It's designed to be helpful like that, our book. Other books too, right? And sometimes the podcast or a therapist or a life coach, a mentor. someone you look up to, or you less than look up to, maybe you really value their opinion and you think they're a model of how you want to be as well, at least to a measure. Nobody's perfect, but that's the kind of person I want to be more like. And then you go to them if they're that kind of teacher or mentor or whoever they might be, even just a friend, that you can kind of align with and just identify with in their positive ways can be helpful. So that's all part of visualizing and moving to a more positive state, right? Is finding people like this and looking for people like this and books like this and podcasts like this and videos like this and all of that, right? And starting to immerse yourself more in that. And as you feel a reluctance to stay there, you want to retreat or scoff at it or whatever, you say, why do I want to do that? Because I want to be back here? Because I can't deal with not having drama and trouble? Maybe, okay, that's who I am right now. I wish it'd be better. I'm going to try, peacefully without beating myself up. Tomorrow I'll try, get up and I'll try to do that more, align with joy and positive things and love and kindness. Oh, that sounds so boring. Oh, maybe, maybe I can do it though. Maybe and then you try it, and all of a sudden it's a little better, a little better, a little better, right? Yeah, that's how it works, right? That's how it works. We're laughing, we're giggling, and sounds silly, but there's a lot of truth to it, right? There's a bunch of truth to it, right? It's so easy to get off on the negative and then think you're noble because you've got a high position, you see, which is arrogant pride. It's not healthy self-esteem. It's I'm right and they're wrong and I'm better and they're worse. And that's part of the drama. Those fuckers are hell with them, I'm up here and get rid of those suckers, because this is the right position, that's the wrong position. You lose compassion, you polarize, as Pema Chodron would say, as Kirk Snyder would say in The Polarized Mind, and you find yourself on the path of destructiveness, really, rather than kindness and liberation and realization.
Yeah, and I the word drama I think is so like I like drama,
Huh?
like, but I like good drama because it's like a movie. It's like life is drama because anytime you have two human beings that come together with emotions, which is all the time, that creates a drama. It creates a story, it creates a narrative.
Yeah.
And so like just because if you love drama, like I love drama, but I like to have good dramas. I like to have good stories. I like to have good narratives. When I start feeling like bad drama is brewing, I'm just like, I don't want bad drama. I'm getting away from it.
I hear you. There is good drama. And I think it's really a problem with words, isn't it? Because young people often use the word drama as it's negative. You're creating a negative situation, or you're involved in a negative situation. It isn't drama like you find in some kind of redemptive kind of story, movie. And even though there's trouble in those, you find clearly that you move through it and stuff. No, they don't even necessarily want to move through it. They want to be in it and stay in it and maybe go out for a minute and get arrested and then go back in because that's where it's at, right? Not the solution to the conflict, which is the redemption through the drama. No, that's not it. It's the trouble itself, right?
It's the endlessly looping drama that never ends.
Yeah, that's right. And that, you're either the victim, or you're the conqueror. They're bad, and you're the winner, or you've been defeated, and isn't it horrible? And you get off on all the, ain't it horrible? Ain't it awful? Rather than everybody, life can be a zero-sum game. At least we move towards that. We can all be happy. It's funny. That's kind of a strange idea. How can we all be happy? Don't you have to win and I lose? Or I have to win? No, that's not. No, in higher states, everybody wins. That sounds kooky. It may sound naive, Pollyannish, but it's true. It's true. And if you're on the kind of path where you're moving in that direction, you see that it's true. Everybody's happier. Everybody has more joy. Everybody has more excitement. Everybody has more adventure. Everybody has more sex in a good way with romance. I mean, I'm not trying to belittle other kinds of sex, but I mean, it's positive, right? It goes somewhere and that's good for you.
It's elevating. It
Elevate.
doesn't make you feel shame or bring you down
Yeah,
or
yeah.
degrade
What
you. Yeah.
the walk of shame, as people say, the walk of the next day, right? You
Yeah.
don't feel like that. You feel like this is good. I love the person. It's fun. It's great. So all that is there when you go in the positive direction. But a lot of times, the lower self says, it's over here. It's over here in the trouble. That's part of the work, right? That's part of the work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. I think that this was really, we find a way to really work it over well. I think there's a lot of lessons in one little vignette, so that's great. Okay. So we'll pick it up next week. Thanks everybody for listening. Again, if you want a copy of the book, it's on Amazon.com. Food for Thought, Psyche, Spirit, and Soul. Stories, poems, and sayings to spark emotional and spiritual growth. By Franklin Sollars and his crew. And Joshua's got a contribution in the book. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. I hope you have a great week. Take care, Joshua.
See ya.
So thank you very much for being part of our Transformation and Transcendence Roundtable podcast. We'll be having this podcast every Thursday at 12 noon, but then it will be uploaded where you could be able to find it on any podcast platform that you have, Apple, Spotify, etc. And it should be will be on YouTube as well. So thanks for joining us, and we hope it's been helpful in your spiritual and emotional growth, and that you've gleaned a little bit of blessing and insight and inspiration for your growth as you go forward. May it blossom throughout your day. Okay, thanks again. See you next time.